All right, the FNB Bank is one of the Southern African lenders doing business in the Kingdom of Eswatini. Now, the lender just released its annual financials for the year 2024 and provided some insight into the numbers for the market community. Let's take excerpts from the presentations by the CEO as well as the Chief Financial Officer. Take a listen.
We've been very lucky this year that we've operated in an environment that has demonstrated improving stability. And whilst there are concerns around the operating environment and the economy, those questions are just as global as they are local. We've had relative stability, but there's just a few things that we wanted to flesh. So GDP especially has been positive since the pandemic. We see a lot of material going out in the media around where our GDP growth is. It's an important number for a developing economy that you always show progressive growth when it comes to GDP, because that is how employment is created, that is how opportunities are created. And Eswatini in the last couple of years has sustained our positive numbers. We do think, though, that there is an opportunity for us as a collective to try and help get these numbers higher, because it is not going to be an easy road to solve for all of the social challenges that we have, and I'll talk to one or two later. We struggled with inflation in prior years, again due to global developments. We've had relative stability, and I say this with consciousness because when we say inflation is low, it's not low for everyone. It depends on where you are placed in the economic value chain. We are also quite cognizant of the fact that as much as we think inflation has sort of recovered from what we thought was bad coming out of the pandemic environment, the slowing down of price increases is also at the back of fairly high increases in the past 2 years. So people don't necessarily look at inflation data when they decide if they can afford stuff. They are looking at the price of bread and the price of milk and the price of groceries. So it's a good number, a much better number than I think what we've shown in previous financial years. But we appreciate the fact that it's still a challenged environment in terms of affordability. So we're not blind to that. But even with that background, we've had a fairly stable interest rate environment. We do carry concerns around global stability, especially around conflicts. I think one point one should make is, I think in previous days, global conflicts could almost be localized at certain instances. That's no longer the case. When there's a disruption anywhere in the world, our immediate response, if it happens at night, our immediate response is to check what's happening to financial services in our part of the world, what's happening to the policy environment, what's happening to interest rates, what's the likelihood of impact in terms of inflation and the like. So we, as connected as we've become, the more connected we have become, conflict can no longer be localized. A small fire somewhere around the world burns right through. There's a conflict in the Middle East. We stress so much that we met some of our bigger clients when it started and just checked, are your supply value chains protected? Is there any engagement we need to have around assistance you might need in routing anything that is imported from any part of the world that has to be routed through the Middle East? So as much as we might be in a small part of the continent in Southern Africa, global conflict is a material impact on results. We are watching again the El Nino story. And are trying to set up infrastructure within the bank to become a lot more climate sensitive and to develop an ability to forecast the impact so that we can decide where to lend, how to lend, and how to support. And then we're also appreciative that at least regionally, we've had relatively successful elections, and that fits into the stability story. I'm happy to take questions, by the way, as I've said, when we get to the end of the presentation. Having seen operational stability, if you can flip on to the next slide, there are concerns perhaps that are emerging with a lot of these changes. As change happens, opportunities and gaps do happen do show up that people do exploit. Globalization and regional integration is a theme and a very welcome theme for us in the banking sector, but you think when you look at what's happening regionally and globally, there's probably there's multiple conversations that are necessary for better alignment. of all of our countries' intent, regional policy frameworks, because you can see that as much as we talk globalization, we talk regional integration, the individual acts of different countries, some of them tend to challenge that. And you're seeing it in the policy framework. In some instances. So we do think there's an opportunity for a cohesive story coming out of, especially for Africa, what do we mean by integration? What do we mean about all of the trade arrangements that we have to simplify the movement of the right skills, to simplify the movement of capital across our regions. And that fits into the regional payments landscape. We've had a lot of questions, especially from the media and our customers, around what's happening with payments. There are good changes that regional regulators have agreed on to help simplify the movement of flows cross borders, but significantly to help protect the movement of flows across borders. So there is a remodeling of that reality, and we are asking customers to bear with us as we go through the process. It is uncomfortable. We have given our input where we can, but it's a necessary part of the broader modernization agenda.
They have been audited by PwC. They have been approved by regulators, the Central Bank of Eswatini and the Eswatini Stock Exchange. So these up here are the key financial metrics that we use to measure performance throughout the year. And I think from an overview, we've had a very strong 2024 financial year. This is emphasized by our profit before tax, which has grown 11.6%. And then further emphasized by the return on equity. So it demonstrates that the business is generating strong shareholder value and returns to its investors, and through that to eMaswati that are invested in our local shareholders as well. And I think from a balance sheet perspective, we have seen good growth as well there. So our total assets have grown 15% throughout the year. But then with that, we have been able to then ensure that we are increasing the yield and the returns on those assets, which is demonstrated in our return on assets at 3%, which has grown from last year to 2.9%. So we are then adding assets that create value. I think then from statement of comprehensive income, what we do see then just emphasizes just the diversity of earnings. So we are a mature business. We are balancing our earnings from both net interest income and non-interest revenue. But I think just to emphasize that strong financial performance with the 12% profit before tax growth. Next slide. So I think here we then have summarized the key contributors and drivers of the earnings this year. I think what we just like to highlight is just that we've had good asset growth, so strong credit extension and origination, so lending to eMaswati through our credit lines. And then also from a deposit perspective, we've optimized our funding and liquidity strategy. So we are providing in terms of deposit solutions to our customers, which they're taking up. I think as well from a customer perspective, we have then embedded our customer value proposition. So we have grown our customer base quite significantly this year as well, as Dennis has stated. And then also supporting that good transactional growth, so good adoption of our platforms and channels, particularly our digital channels. I think from a pressure perspective, we have then seen pressures coming on the income statement, particularly we have a risk management strategy where we then try to reduce the volatility of the policy rate hikes through the cycle. And we have an interest rate hedge that has then had an opportunity cost of 18 million. Tied to that, we've had to invest in this wonderful building, which we have used from excess liquidity. So there was also an opportunity cost where we have given up yield on interest just to invest in this building, but we are working to supplement that and grow our deposit base again. From just looking at in terms of the key drivers, so I think from a gross interest income and interest expense, I think here from interest income, particularly generated by advances. So advances growth has been strong as stated, but I think we've also then seen increased overdraft utilization across our corporate and commercial businesses, and then also term loan drawdown. So we are providing facilities and people are taking them up. And I think there is still a major opportunity for us to participate in localization of strategic national initiatives that in the coming years, and then to provide sort of solutions that can assist and fund those initiatives.